Hello and welcome to Teaching My Cat to Read, the very serious book review podcast. I'm Eli.
I'm Em.
I'm Rowan.
And I'm Lottie. And this week we are discussing everything about us. It's our Q&A episode.
Yeah, so we thought we would close out season 1 with question and answers because we have had people asking us questions on our various social medias and we want a chance to properly answer them.
Firstly, we should probably lead with, it occurred to us while we were planning this episode that we never actually, fully introduced ourselves on the podcast.
That is true.
Yeah. But we haven't done any of the, hi, my pronouns are X, Y, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to do that first.
Start.
I'll go because I'm the first person who says
Go
something in the intro.
order.
Yeah. I'm Eli, my pronouns are they, them. I'm a weird little creature who likes to yell about things. And that's actually what I get paid to do, is be loud on the internet now, which is quite exciting.
Woo! Hi, I'm Em. I don't really have a preference for pronouns, so, go nuts. Definitely not a woman is as much as I can give you for gender information. I like abomination. I'm partial to my gender as abomination.
Sometimes you're a gremlin also, I think.
Sometimes I am a gremlin also. It's true, I'm fluid, you know?
You could tame multitudes.
Quick, random fact about myself. I spent the entirety of this afternoon binning receipts from the last 3 years, because I'm a very interesting person.
Ro, you actually
I forgot the order, sorry. It's much later than we normally record. Come on, guys.
It is much later than we normally record.
I'm Ro. My pronouns are they, them, he, him, or am are also acceptable. Yeah, I mostly use non-binary as a label. Fun fact, I'm currently running 2 D&D campaigns, which is the least I've been running for the last 2 years.
We're all very impressed at your restraint.
It's very hard. I think about a new one to start every day. Actually, I really want to run. I mean, I've already ordered the Avatar RPG.
Oh, nice.
I'm so excited for
I mean,
that
are we going to do a McElroy thing and do a D&D episode of this podcast?
I've been trying to get you guys to do this for months.
We should do it.
Oh, we should do what's the one with the witch? What's the one-page one with the witch and the familiars? Because that's really good. We could play that.
Oh, we could do the honey bear heist or something. That's good.
I haven't done the honeypot heist. We could totally do the
I think that
honeypot
might be a
heist.
bit better as a narrative as well than the witch. The witch is dead.
I've
If you
observed
say
the honey
so.
bear heist,
Also,
but not done it.
we do like
We're getting
heists.
off track already. It's 2 minutes in.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lottie. My pronouns are she, her. Fun fact, I'm pretty sure that half of the 2 million views of the new Wheel of Time trailer are down to me. Because I'm so hyped. And yeah, if you've a new listener to this podcast, you probably don't know, but if you go back through and listen to all the other episodes, I'm a big fan of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere and fantasy in general, I guess like everyone else. Yeah.
I was actually looking at this because I was trying to think of, we're having some wildcard episodes next season that won't be book specific, and I was trying to think of themes, and all of my themes were fantasy based, and I went, hold on, is that fair? Is that representative of our output? And I went through the spreadsheet and I was like, oh boy, it's 90% fantasy.
It's fine.
We might have some very strong preferences, guys.
Yeah, I have a friend who is into the Wheel of Time who is not one of the people on this podcast, and I want to get her on to do an episode with Lottie where they could just talk about the Wheel of Time.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be that. It's going to be an hour of that.
If there's a listener out there who's also a massive Wheel of Time fan, just DM us on Instagram and I'll be your best friend forever. Just
Lottie will never stop
seriously, I
talking to you
won't.
about
I
Wheel
just
of Time.
pass you forever. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
that is friendship. That that leads us nicely on to how did we all meet, actually, because it was through pestering and nerddom.
I mean, I guess the first person I met from this group was Am on my first day of uni. I think you're the second person I met.
You were the second ever person.
And now we're friends wherever.
Yep. It's got locked in on that first day, and now there's no escape.
We did Merlin Pizza Fest. That was which was the best, which is basically because we didn't want to go out on Freshers Week. I know. I was
This
like,
is
we didn't want to go
aging
out in
us.
fresh streets. So I was like,
We're
come
ancient
watch
now,
Merlin
get
in my
over it.
room and eat pizza, guys. And then I just like befriended all these cool people. So yeah, I'm just like, if you're a new fresher when you're listening to this, like just watch Merlin, get around people around pizza. You'll befriend them for like decades. So.
So whatever the kids are into these
Merlin.
days.
So Lottie was also the first person I met at uni, and then we didn't like know each other for a few years, and then we became friends through other means. But actually, the first day when I came to university and sat down, Lottie was the first person I met, which is kind of neat.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I'm a couple years younger than you guys, so I was a fresher when you were already like established.
Baby
Yeah.
Eli.
Yeah, Eli is the baby. I'm in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah. Lottie and I are ancient and decrepit.
Yeah.
Was one of the people in the year above that was kind of assigned to look after me in the way that
I
you
did a great job. Were you the one I didn't show up to the first meeting for?
You are, but you and the other person who was assigned to me, you did write a lovely letter.
Showed up for the other two. It was just you that I was like, I forgot about the meeting. I'm very sorry.
Fine.
You are my favourite offspring of all of
All the people
university.
you
So
get
take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also met Ro on my first night in university as well, because thinking about non-drinky ways to get to meet people during Freshers Week, Ro and their friends were just like, we're going to have pancakes in our room. Does anyone want to come and like have pancakes?
That was in the first week, right?
It was. Oh no, maybe it was in the first week. It was really early on. I could find the text to my brother where I messaged him being like, I found the gays. I'm in. You know, I found my crowd.
Oh yeah, because by the time you were there, we already had. Did we have the reputation? Did we have the coloured hair and the those specific?
I did not have the reputation, but I was living with someone who definitely had the reputation, who was called out for climbing across buildings because their hair colour was so distinctive it couldn't be anyone but them.
Oh, but yeah, so we all met at university, and we have like a bunch of mutual friends. You know what I realised the other day? So I got married recently, and at that wedding, I think that's the first time we've all been together in person since we started this podcast.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I actually
that was
saw
two
everyone
weeks
else in
ago today
person.
that we did
It was
that.
so exciting because I live in
I
like
know,
a completely
right?
different like
That's
city,
wild.
and I'm just like, yeah, I can see you all guys in person. Yeah.
I don't think we'd seen Lottie in person since we started the podcast either.
No.
I don't think we had.
It was before that. It was like beginning of last calendar year that you came to see us.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
before lockdown.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when you got the cat.
Yeah.
I think we'd seen Ro. We had pizza with Ro in the garden like a couple of weeks before the wedding, right? Like,
Yes,
that was
and
like,
I'd seen
we've
Eli
seen
like
Ryan in person.
once in the middle of lockdown
Yes.
for like a protest.
Yeah. Yeah.
living that lockdown
I was just in a
life.
sleepy little English
basically.
village with really poor internet connectivity. You know. Woohoo!
But yeah, that's part of why there's been a gap between us recording the last book episode and us doing this one. Is partly because we wanted to have some time to collect.
We've actually had to
Yeah.
do things in real
Yeah,
life in
it's-
3D.
it's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We had like actual real life stuff to
Outrageous.
get on with. So, you know, three of the four of us have been to not only my wedding, but then another wedding 6 days later.
Yeah. You've
So-
had multiple
Yeah.
like busyness, so yeah. This is why there's a little gap. But to be honest, I think it's quite nice having
Yes.
a little gap because then you can go and re-listen to all our old episodes and just like soak them in again before season 2 comes out.
People have been listening to them. Like we
know,
get the stats
really
every week,
cool.
and it's really lovely to see people listening,
still
even when
blows
we're
my
not putting
mind.
stuff
And I will
out
just say
live.
now,
It's-
like, thank you to everyone who's like emailed, DM'd, like pinged us on Tumblr or Pinterest or like Instagram or like emailed us or left a review on a podcast platform or shared something, tagged us, anything like that.
We love you. We see you. We appreciate you.
We do read all our messages and like
Yeah.
enjoy them in our little group chat. We don't always respond because executive functioning is a myth and a dream.
Hey,
and
we have a policy
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
We have a policy.
Yes,
Wait,
yeah.
we almost have a policy. We're trying to come up with policies. We're pretending to be real grown-ups who are organised this season.
We will.
It's very
But
exciting.
Seriously, like it's so cool, especially when I think what we can see on our download stats, like where people have downloaded like the podcast, and it's so cool that we have listeners in like Australia. I don't know anyone in Australia, but we have listeners in Australia, and we have listeners in like South Africa, and like in Iceland, and in France, and it's just all these different places. And I'm thinking from
wild,
my bedroom in my little sleepy English village that all these people. Yeah, it's quite cool. And the fact that we met someone the other day who recognised me by my voice.
Yeah, I was about to bring
Yeah.
that up. One of my friends who was at the wedding was like, "Oh, you must be Lottie."
I was like, what? How do you know me? Who are you? I was like, oh yeah, people listen to the podcast. So
Yeah. My favourite element of that was that I was standing right next to you and I was also talking to this person and they didn't recognise me, but they did recognise you.
It's the RP. It's the enunciation of the words and sounding like you're the Queen on Radio 4.
And for those outside of the UK, that just proves how few of us talk in RP that Lottie can be recognised because of it.
I always think I sound posher than I do. And then I listen to myself in the recording, I'm like, oh no. I'm
You
like,
sound
oh, no.
southern, but not as posh as Lottie.
And the thing is, I do get comments that I mean it's quite fun, but I'm in this weird bit of the UK where you don't really have a very strong regional accent, but you ish, and I just sound like posh. I'm normal, honest, but I just enunciate. I'm just beating that into school.
I used to have more of an Essex accent, but it's all gone now. That's what university does to you folks. Just completely.
I absolutely lost my London accent. Yeah, I used to have way more of a London accent.
Kids. That's what we're going for here.
Yeah. Should we do some questions?
Yeah, probably shouldn't we? Yeah, rambling for a bit.
Yeah, sorry, we got distracted.
First, a little fun questions. If you could meet one author, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh.
So I want to clarify some parameters of this question, right?
Yeah.
How are we defining author? Is it anybody who's published
written a book,
anything ever?
Book,
yes.
A book. Define book.
Because otherwise I don't get to do, like, Gildas. Because I might fist fight Gildas.
Yeah. I want something that covers, like, Sappho to the Untamed Daughter, who I've...
MXTX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are we assuming mutual intelligibility? Like, are we assuming that we'll be able to understand each other even if they don't speak the language that I speak? Or Okay, can I meet Moses?
We'll have time travel Babelfish.
I want to meet Moses. I want to be like, yo, what?
What's up?
Give me the tea. Yeah.
How did you feel about the whole not being able to enter the promised land thing? What was that about?
Oh, yeah.
Great chat.
That's a whole new podcast. It's me and Moses just, like, giving the hot goss on Tara. Yeah.
I think, like, well, I guess I would love to meet Brandon Sanderson, just say thank you for finishing Wheel of Time. For those who don't know, when Robert Jordan passed away in, must be not too, late 2000s, he was chosen to finish the Wheel of Time series. And he was basically, I think he was only paid for one book, and he wrote 3 1,000-page novels to do the ending of the series justice. And I'd also love to meet Robert Jordan because they're just, big Wheel of Time fan. And then I love just Agatha Christie, because when we did our episode on Murder on the Orient Express,
like she'd be a good time.
her life just sounds incredibly interesting, and just she sounds like she just has such a cool chat, and I think
she's also she's not a people person. Like, I can imagine she'd be a great person to talk to.
Yeah. An actual conversationalist.
Like when you have to go to these like networking events, you're like, okay, I just want to go and talk to somebody like that who can just like, you can talk and like, I'll just listen to you, and it's just great. It's a great time.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the questions about what counts as a book is also relevant to me, because obviously I want to meet the Beowulf poet, because A, then I get to solve the authorship question if there is only one. And B, I get to show them the Beowulf Dragon Slayer comics, which I think would be extremely funny.
The question does specify one author, dead or alive.
Damn it! I meet the Gestalt. I meet the combined ghost powers of every person who's worked on Beowulf.
I mean, I think
just
that would
as
also
one
apply to
enormous,
mine.
horrifying entity.
Is Moses a coherent historical identity? Like, that's, I think, a question that bears asking.
Yeah, it bears asking, but there's kind of more clearly probably a dude if you didn't write all of the things.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, there's theoretically a dude because but you're not thinking of the author at that point, you're kind of thinking of the character. So,
Yeah.
But he probably did write something, so he counts.
Yes, that's probably true.
Basically, this question is, which historical figure would you like to meet, given that they wrote something?
Yes. I would like to meet them.
Other end of the spectrum, who would you fight? Which author? Same parameters for author.
I call back to when I made a up in one of the early episodes when I just called it the Boy Wizard trilogy, because I forgot there were 7 books.
If only it was a trilogy. Prisoner of Azkaban was the best one.
That does go out on a high.
Yeah, and then I kind of wanted that the guy who wrote the Da Vinci Code ones, where it was like, and then he wrote like a 5th.
Dan Brown.
Yeah,
Dan
and he
Brown.
wrote a 5th one, and it just apparently, I mean, I never read it, but I had family members who read it, and like I think it just never lived up to the hype of all the other books, because I think the other, like Da Vinci Code was like a interesting book to read, when you just want something that's like, it's like, oh, this is exciting. And also, Hans Zimmer wrote the score for the film.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it down, but I never reread it.
Yeah. It's the fast food of books. It's like Twilight. You enjoy it while you're reading it, and then afterwards you have a stomachache. And
I feel Twilight. Like, this is why I couldn't put Stephanie Meyer in here, because I think like Twilight has its place. I feel like, you know, as a teenager, like when you're about 13. I remember when I was 13, everybody read Twilight. Like it does capture teenage angst very well.
I've never read it. I watched the movie I watched the first movie, and I watched the one that had Lee Pace in it because I have a problem.
Valid.
There is a lot of good stuff in Twilight. It's not what she intended to write, but it's there.
It's a bit like Supernatural in that it's got that, like, there's the secret good Twilight that lives in our heads, where it's actually Rosalie's the main character.
Yeah. Like you had something going where you would do so much more. But
have you guys heard the fan theory that Bella has like faked her death, and the Twilight books are basically like her leaving a really elaborate
it's her
log.
like gaslighting history. Yeah, I have seen that. It was very funny.
I'll see if I can track down the
I don't know if anyone else
has
been getting like Spotify adverts for Midnight Sun, and they're like, oh, go buy the book. I'm pretty sure this was leaked in like 2009 or no, whenever it was leaked, like Midnight Sun, and then they brought.
Yeah, I have already read it because it was like free on the internet.
And I'm like, but why do I want to hear? Just like, no. Anyway, so anyway, that about 6 authors I want to fight, so.
I mean, Edward is not a particularly interesting character of all the wild, you know.
But that's why you didn't say Stephanie Meyer.
I'm trying to think, like, I feel like recently I have had the experience of reading a book and getting to the end, and the ending annoying me so much that I threw the book against a wall, and I can't remember who it was, and I would like to fight them, whoever it was, but I can't remember who it was.
I did that with the Red Wedding I forget which one it was, Clash of Kings, and I would like, so my serious answer to this question is George R. R. Martin, just because I hate him, and he said that you can't imagine hobbits having sex, and I'm like, dude, have you been on the internet?
No, George, you can't imagine hobbits having sex.
My tongue-in-cheek answer to this is God.
There's the God punches. You gotta. It's your religious duty, really, to punch God when you think about it.
So, like, obviously, books have reviews, and some of them get rated really well. So, what's like a 5-star review that didn't disappoint?
And this is of any books we've read, not just things we've done for the podcast. I guess
something that you read off the basis of a review, or like you knew was going to be good and it was good. If that makes sense.
So I read Temeraire after you guys did it on the podcast.
Nice.
I listened to the whole episode. I had to edit it. But yeah, I read Temeraire, and then I instantly gave it to my partner, and he read Temeraire, and then we instantly posted it to his sister, and she read Temeraire, and then we instantly recommended it to our friends who run a bookshop, and they read Temeraire, and every person has loved it, and I love it, and like I think I'm on book 7 now.
Oh, that's where I stalled out. I read too many in a row, and I had to take a break.
It's picked up. Like Australia was rough.
Australia was rough. Just like, there's 2 whole books of Lawrence's depression nap, and you're just like, this is very, like, plot important and relevant and things, and, like, it's a good character stuff, but also, I'm so miserable.
Also, it's like, it's not interesting, that's just my life. Like, I don't need to read about it, you know? No, I've been taking normal sleepy naps, not depression naps lately.
When they get to the thing that they find at the end of Australia, from there on, it's pretty much picked up. I'm enjoying it, but yeah. Just because it was so good, and like so many people, I've spread it so far, and everyone's enjoyed it. I want the TV show of that so badly.
Oh, I'm just picturing like the Office style mockumentary life in the coverts. Oh my god, can you imagine?
I'm just thinking like you take the books, and then when he goes into depression mode, you just pay attention to all of the other great characters that are there that do not get enough time. Yeah,
we'll have a whole series that's just what Tharke was doing behind the scenes. Well, actually, the whole series is just about Tharke. Never mind. We'll just leave Lawrence out of it.
Well, Lawrence, I do love my silly little, like, you know, duty bound, like, you do-gooder. I like.
He's a glorious himbo, and we adore him.
And also, we need him so that we can see all of Temeraire.
That is true.
But if they make a TV show of that, it needs to become an ensemble thing. They need to flesh out the other characters. Yeah. Just to keep the pace up, but if they do that well, it could be so good.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm pretty similar. Like, I don't really read reviews so much, but like pretty much everything I've read in the last couple of years has either been fanatically recommended to me on Tumblr by dint of just people posting about it nonstop. Reading Autostraddle articles about it, or a friend telling me that, hey, this thing's good and gay, try this. And I haven't been disappointed in any of the things I found that way. There's things like The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, Watchmaker of Filigree Street, and Conspiracy of Truths, the Alexandra Rowland stuff. So lots of good gay I have found via the internet, and I would like to thank all the people I follow on Tumblr for putting these things in my path.
I have Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I need to read Spinning and Silver as well, because so many people have been like, hey, you will love this. It's got like fibercraft and Judaism. And I'm like, yes. Thinking of that, the Sabbath by Abraham Joshua Heschel. I read that. I mean, I read that like a couple of years ago, but that's like, it's really well known for just being like, it will take the top of your head off. And it did. Yeah. And also, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying, or whatever. That might not be the exact title, but the Marie Kondo book.
The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
Yeah, the Marie Kondo book. Which, like, everyone was like, this is incredible. And I was like, how could it actually be? Picked it up, read it is that good.
I think, for me, so I very much specifically remember when I picked up The Wheel of Time from the Waterstones that was round the corner from school. And it had, like, the little review card, they put on Waterstones that it had, you should read this if you like this. And I picked it up, and on the editions I have, it's like Robert Jordan has begun to expand the world that Tolkien started, or something like that. And I was like, okay, I like Lord of the Rings films, so I think I'd watched them by that point. I can't really remember. And I was like, well, okay, I'll have a crack at this. And promptly read the prologue, the prequel, because I thought that was book 1. So I cocked up there, because you're meant to read the prequel after book 5, because it just massively spoils a load of stuff. And I was like, oh, whoops. But I was like, this is great. Just like Moraine and Suan and Leanne, and just all these badass ladies being awesome. And yeah, so like, yeah, I guess Wheel of Time. And then like, I guess another one, I would say Way of Kings, because I think that was one of the ones that had been released and sort of had noises of, like, I enjoyed all the other of Sanderson's books, but Way of Kings is the one that he started writing, I think, when he was in college, but basically publishers were like, we don't want a 10-book series where each book is 1,000+ pages, like, please God, no. But it is so good, and I just, every time I read it, just the plot twist at the end, because Sanderson's book has quite a lot of plot twists, but it, like, Kaladin's entire story arc is probably just chef's kiss beauty of, like, redemption, but also saving other people when you don't want to save yourself, and just the whole thing, just amazing. But yeah, it's very much a struggle when you're trying to get everyone like, please read this book, and they go and look at the book and they go, it's 1,000+ pages, Lottie, and I'm like, yeah, but you do want to read it, don't you? Please.
I've got to say that has been the main thing that's been putting me off, is that in my youth,
so disappointed with the lack of books I read, because I think back to when I was, like, 13, and we had like the Boy Wizard trilogy, other plus others, and you had the releases and everyone at school was reading them, and you went to the school library and you got books out, and books like Noughts and Crosses and things like this, where it's just that just loads of different genres, loads of different books, and then it just, I think you leave school and then you just sort of run out of time for reading, like, especially large books. And I'm completely the same as Am, that now I look at a large book, and if it's not something I've already read and already know I'm going to enjoy, I'm very much less likely to pick it up unless it's got a really, like, unless it's been recommended by a friend.
This is part of why I like audiobooks, both because they're easier for me to fit, or at least pre-pandemic they were easier for me to fit in my life. Since the pandemic and working from home and doing this podcast, I've read more physical books, and I'm trying to, like, read before I go to bed, because it really helps. But pre-pandemic, like, cycle commuting, I would listen to audiobooks all the time, and because a lot of the audiobook platforms do a kind of credit system, it makes you like, you look for the longest book, because you're like, I want value for my credit. None of this 10-hour nonsense. Give me the 42-hour Wheel of Time books. Thank you very much for the same amount of money.
Yeah, I've got so many queued up on audiobooks, but I've really enjoyed it, because I've never really listened to audiobooks before we did the podcast. I just read books, and I never really appreciated, I guess, audiobooks. But now, especially, like I say, gardening, it's been really relaxing, tending to my raspberry patch that I've taken over in the in the garden of just this like.
Have you taken over the raspberry patch, or is the raspberry patch taken over the
like
this is the real question.
Raspberries, guys. Like, so, and there's blackberries. I made a blackberry apple pie. I mean, this is just a complete segue into like.
It's the baking podcast.
We did blackberry harvesting on the weekend. We made four jars of jam that we've got out of that. It's great.
We have tomatoes. Eli did tomatoes, and now we have tomatoes, and they're so good.
Homegrown tomatoes.
So
good.
I've really enjoyed audiobooks.
So if you let's take this tangent and veer it back on schedule. In your ideal little cottagecore fantasy with all of your jam making and tomatoes, if you had to have one fictional character to be your roommate, who would you choose and why?
I've got brain worms, so I would pick Castiel from Supernatural. He's just my favourite fictional character of all time. Like,
it would be so funny. Can you imagine?
Exactly, right? He's just a little dude.
Also, he needs more gay friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be honest.
It's not a book character, it's off-brand because this is a book podcast. But Castiel from Supernatural because I have Castiel derangement syndrome.
Just because I don't want every answer to be like Wheel of Time related because it just.
You have no idea how close my answers to this have come from being all Jewish related, so don't worry.
I think like Suan or Leanne from, and I probably pronounce their names incorrectly. I apologise.
Fantasy doesn't count.
And it's a thought that counts. Just because they are both like very awesome, but also just like very, they sound like really fun people to interact with, and the fact that like Suan's like entire swearing repertoire is just like fish analogies because she grew up in a fishing village, and I cannot wait for that to be in the like, please, Rafe Judkins, put that in the adaptation. Like, I pray. It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
So I have like a sensible, trying to keep myself sane answer, and the answer I think would be funniest. And the try to keep myself sane one is Bronte from the Lord Peter Wimsey mysteries, because I think he's the ideal roommate. He's quiet, he's polite, he does all his chores on time. He's also a badass.
Yeah.
And just quietly very funny. I think that would be a good time. Just like hyper competent, where I am not.
You're making me think I should have said Willikins from the Vimes's butler.
Ha! Oh my god, that would be so funny. But I see my fun answer was going to be Pratchett, because I do think that living with Tortoise would be extremely
delightful.
Funny.
Yes, that would be great chat. Oh.
Just the tiny croaky from down by my ankle. Smite you with thunderbolts every time I forget to do the dishes. It would be so good.
Isn't that basically if a cat could talk, though?
I mean, yeah, all right. He can't stab me quite as much as Gothmog can, which is,
So, I don't know. I kind of want Temeraire just because
he's too
then
big.
I have a massive dragon, but he would get very annoyed if I couldn't also have Lawrence.
That's true. Lawrence, I think, would be an ideal roommate. We know he's extremely tidy.
Oh god, yeah, Lawrence would be a great. He might be too tidy for me. Like I'm quite a tidy person,
Too
but not
tidy for you.
It has to be a few books in. I can't take Lawrence from the first book. Okay, he has to have been an aviator for a while.
Yeah. He needs to have relaxed a little bit.
I need to not be doing hospital corners on every sheet.
He needs to have stopped being a
He's just
normie.
following you around, reorganizing your shit. Yeah.
But also maybe veterinary.
The sitcom potential!
In a kind of
my God.
please fix this country.
You just get front row seats to Veterinary's life that way.
Yeah. I can be a drum knot. I feel like I could rise to that challenge of being a drum knot.
Amazing.
But then the most exciting thing in your life would be pencils.
I have a mechanical pencil that I am very fond of.
Incredible.
The biggest drum knot energy.
I have a second mechanical pencil that I take when I'm going out and about because I don't want to take my good mechanical pencil.
Okay, you've convinced me. You could be drum knot. I believe you.
I have a favourite pen, but not a favourite pencil.
I don't actually have a favourite pen. I have various pens, and I do have a favourite make of pen, but I don't have a favourite specific pen.
Nah, I can't say I'm on the pen chart. But there again, my handwriting is so bad.
Are we recreating that David Mitchell thing about people stealing his pencils from Would I Lie to You? Is that what we're doing here?
I years ago accepted that I have vague David Mitchell vibes.
I mean, to be fair, I hated that when people steal my pens at school. I hated that. It was like, no, it's my pen. I mean, you can't name it, but it's like,
You can if you did. You can.
I
Okay,
know.
just in case people haven't seen this, like, I'm pretty sure Tumblr post, keep the lid. When you give someone the pen, offer, like loosen it a little bit, offer them the pen end, they take it, you keep the lid. They're never going to keep it without a lid, because they go to put the lid back on. If they're forgetful, they do that, and they're like, oh, it was someone else's, and give it back. And other than that, they're just getting...
Wait, is this not a biro pen? Because I literally don't think any of my biros have lids.
Oh, my biros have lids.
They came with lids.
I feel like
I'm
a
just a
techie.
pen thief. I'm secretly a pen thief.
If you're a techie, by which I mean like theatre techie, like you make sets and you run around fixing stuff like for a show, everyone always steals your Sharpie, right? It's impossible to keep hold of a Sharpie, but that's the way to do it, is you have the Sharpie lid duct taped to your keyring, and then nobody can keep the Sharpie.
Well, apart from anything else, because if you try and put a non-lidded Sharpie down anywhere, you will regret it.
Yeah.
Like...
Anyway, back to
Anyway,
books.
yes,
Segue
more
back to books,
tangents.
guys.
Favorite book we read on the podcast, people. Come on.
I think Persuasion, because I hadn't read that and I really, really enjoyed reading it.
So good.
I love reading The Hobbit as well, and also like I very much enjoyed your guys' reaction to The Emperor's Soul, because that was like your first sort of introduction to Brandon Sanderson's sort of like world building, which is I very much enjoyed that.
So I don't know how to answer this, if I should say like which one do I think was the most fun episode to record, or which book did I like the most, or which book do I like the most of, like, because there's some that I read for the podcast. Perilous Life of JDO I thought was incredible. I'm so glad we read that. Yeah. But then do I like it more than I like The Hobbit? You can't pick a favourite book. It's impossible.
You guys have all mentioned things that were on my list of me being I cannot pick. Here is my short list. But yes, I don't know that I can continue to call myself a medievalist if Beowulf is not my favourite. But I really enjoyed Emperor's Soul, Perilous Life. Those are the two that I hadn't read before that like I was just they blew my mind. It was great. And Small Gods and Persuasion still are amazing. Everything I remembered they were and more. So that's And then Lyriel's right there. No, look, I'm going to stop because it is just
we'll
it
just
is
list
most
off
of
like
them.
all the episodes.
Well, it leads right into like the next question, which is a book we wish we'd read but didn't have time on season 1, or like stuff that we're really excited to read for next season. And you mentioning Lyriel makes me really excited because we're going to obviously do Abhorsen in season 2.
Yeah,
yes,
which is the
that.
final book in the trilogy. But then there are more books. Yeah.
I'm personally very excited to read more Pratchett because.
Yes, I'm excited for you to read more Pratchett.
I'm like a complete newbie to the whole Discworld, and it just completely passed me by.
Well, we are doing more Pratchett, so
more Pratchett is coming.
Yeah, we're opening season 2 with Good Omens, which is Pratchett and Gaiman collaboration, which everybody should read, and also watch the TV adaptation because it's stellar.
Yeah.
And then we're doing The Hogfather for our Christmas episode, which is the Discworld Does Christmas. It's very, very good. So we will be doing more Pratchett very soon.
It's a death book. It's a good death book.
One that we have on the list, I'm not sure whether I'll do it because it's really long, but I think it would make a great episode, is American Gods. Because it has religious
really
stuff in it.
It's so long.
It has some really interesting like queer characters in it that I love, and like there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about it that I think you would all really like, and then there's also some wild stuff in it.
We're going to have to discuss the vagina eating people thing, aren't we?
I mean, I knew about that because I just
shakes fist in Neil Gaiman's general direction.
It encapsulates Neil Gaiman as a writer for me. That book, it has this is great, and what the heck are you doing?
It also has an adaptation that is not. It makes changes because of the like translation into a different medium, which I find really interesting as a way to do adaptations, and it's something they did with The Good Omens as well, is that they did make some changes, but it's nice because it also works. And I think like Neil Gaiman was involved with some of the American God adaptation stuff, I think
for the first season he was,
and he was really involved with Good Omens.
He dropped off it to work on Good Omens. I've also dropped off the American God season, I think somewhere in the beginning of season 2. I was
think
watching
that might
it.
be where I tapped out as well, just because like I think I got bored and life got interesting and other stuff became more interesting.
Yeah, it got a little bit, I couldn't follow it. And admittedly, like, there's a lot going on in the books, but it's so focused on Shadow that it kind of followed you through it. Anyway, we're just talking about American Gods now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a shorter Neil Gaiman, I would like to put in for the illustrated Stardust. Because it's gorgeous.
I did that on audiobook.
And it does have an adaptation, which is also very good.
Yeah, I love the adaptation. So, I think if we had all the time in the world, I would love for you guys to read. The problem is that with Wheel of Time, like you have to read, I think, because the first book, it was very much pitched to publishers as a samey as Lord of the Rings, and then the second, third book, it goes really into Jordan's world building, character, the whole like the.
So we wouldn't be getting the real experience if we just read the first one, but then it's this massive commitment.
And I think, but it's such a huge world and a huge thing unto itself. And also because then I have someone to yell about the just the adaptations obviously coming out on Prime later this year, which I'm very, very excited about, and the fact that again there's been changes made because it's a visual medium rather than a written medium, but a lot of it is holding true, and they're also making some quite positive changes. I'm kind of hoping for some positive changes where in the book you're like, that's a bit maybe you can't get away with that now. And I guess one other I would love, Way of Kings, but again it's really on, so probably gonna be one.
If there are any more Sanderson novellas of the same sort of era as Emperor's Soul, that is stuff that I would be super into.
Well, because Emperor's Soul is from a collection that has a bunch of novellas, right? I don't know how many of them stand alone.
Yeah, so this Emperor's Soul is the main one that stands alone. I think the Sixth of Dust also stands alone, and then there's one other the sand one.
Where's Ghost Kelsier? I want Ghost Kelsier.
Yes, there is one, but you have to read the 3 Mistborn books.
Oh no!
Otherwise you get spoiled. You have, alas, but it's fine. We can read all the other Mistborns and then we can get.
Speaking of Dust, we haven't done the Amber Spyglass trilogy. Right?
We haven't.
Oh my gosh, yes, we need
that. Would be
add
fun.
that on the list. Somebody add it on the list because that's got a good adaptation too.
As another thing that has an ongoing adaptation. Well, I mean, when we were thinking about who would be your roommate, I was like, Yorick Bernison. for
oh my god, yeah.
Well, no, what I would really want is I would want to have an actual demon of my own. That's what I would want from that book.
I think this leads nicely into our next question, which is, what is your favourite adaptation of a book or a series so far? Stuff that's already out.
I mean, Lord of the Rings, the original films is just
Yeah.
a tier in and of itself.
Yeah, it
That's
just
like the first thing on my list.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, still, I get the emotions. Yeah.
If we have to go outside that, I kind of love the X-Men films, if they count, because that's from comic books to movies. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yeah.
The original, you're talking about the original 3, right? Not the...
I appreciate them all as a package, but mostly the original 3, yes.
Yeah.
Like, there are some good things later on. I don't want to entirely ditch them. I'll take them as a set, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, I don't care about First Class. I like some of the later stuff in that timeline, but I just can't get into First Class.
I watched First Class 4 times in one weekend. I don't know why, I just really liked it.
God damn.
I think I saw it in the cinemas twice, actually.
Again, it's a great film where you just I enjoyed that, and then you that, it was value for money in the cinema, but...
I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for Elementary as an adaptation that I love.
Ooh,
that
hadn't occurred to me at all. Yeah, no, that's a really good shout.
That's brilliant. I really, really like the new TV adaptation on the BBC for Northern Lights.
Yeah, that was good.
I really, really like that. I think now reading Good Omens, I definitely appreciate, because I watched the TV show before reading the book. And I'm definitely appreciating TV show. I think they've captured the Angel and even really, really well, and they've cast David Tennant and Michael Sheen in that beautifully.
Oh, they were perfectly cast, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can't say Wheel of Time because it's not out yet, but Rosamund Pike is more
Lottie
brain.
has high hopes.
It's just because I think when that casting was announced of Rosamund Pike, and I was she's one of my favourite actresses she was obviously in the Pride and Prejudice film, but she's been in a load of other stuff and on TV as well. And and Gone Girl. And I was just oh my god, this is going to be so good, because they've got really A-list actors and actresses for these roles they're giving them a range of accents, and I'm really, really hopeful that it will, hopefully live up to the 2-minute trailer where there was, I just screamed at the film. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now.
I think there is like the thing that really does like blow my mind is the Game of Thrones adaptations and how good the first few seasons were and how bad it ended.
Yeah, there was a time when I was like so impressed with the changes that they chose to make in the change of medium. And then it just went off the rails, not just an adaptation, but as a show.
Yeah.
And like, I got my beef with the books, but, you know, the show is just...
Yeah, and I think, like the show, like, in the first few seasons, does that thing of, like, accounting for some of your beefs with the books in, like, a reasonable way. And, like, it just... Like, it was absolutely phenomenal at the time. And then, like, I only read the books after having watched the first few seasons, having, like, binged the first few seasons.
I've plugged the fanfic that wraps up that series, right?
Yes.
The North Remembers by Queen of Hades, yeah. Everybody should read that if they like the books. There's lots of reasons why I said I would fight George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, like, I can't say I didn't read the books, like, it wasn't really my cup of tea. I mean, I watched the TV show mainly because, like, Dragon Lady had dragons and that was cool, and then I just skipped everything else. And then, like...
And they did her mad dirty in the end.
If we're going on adaptations that we didn't like, I mean, I have absolute beef with the Aragon adaptation. Like, just I remember being very
everything Aragon deserved.
Like, I remember getting so excited for that, and the adaptation was in the cinema.
It is bad. Like, I'll trash the book lovingly, but like, I did very much enjoy it as a kid, and the film did not live up to my expectations at all.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to discuss the Beowulf one.
Yeah. Honourable mention to the Watch TV show that was apparently so bad that Neil Gaiman didn't even watch it.
You can tell I'm following the right people on Tumblr because I didn't see any of it.
Because Neil Gaiman has a Tumblr, right?
Yeah.
And somebody asked him, like, what are your opinions on the Watch show? And he basically said he was waiting for people that he trusts to tell him that it was good enough to be worth watching, and that hadn't happened yet.
Never happened.
Yep.
I mean, another honourable mention because it doesn't quite fit the category, but oh my god, the Avatar: Last Airbender movie.
I don't know what you're talking about. They never made a movie.
There is no Avatar: The Last Airbender movie in Ba Sing Se. Yeah.
Never made a movie of that. They will never make a movie of that. It's fine. But that is, it's also someone who like loves martial arts, and the original series having had so much effort put in to the fight scenes, so being so beautiful, and then
thought. Yeah.
And then what the film is, it's oh god, psychic damage. Psychic damage.
Oh, thinking of good adaptations, The Prince of Egypt as a movie.
Oh shit! Yeah. It did not need to go as hard as it did, and it really just blows my mind every time.
I can't remember how I dolphin brained from Avatar to that, but.
It was one of the only films available when me and my sister went to stay with my one set of grandparents. So the movies in their house, it was something like, you had Prince of Egypt, you had, I think, one other film that was like vaguely religiously based, and then Blackadder, like the full Blackadder, and those were your only options.
Oh god, yeah.
And to be fair, they both slapped. But...
yeah. Oh, Blackadder was good. Yeah. Okay, shall we segue back to reading? Favourite place to read?
Beanbag chair.
Yeah, my sofa.
So all of our furniture was bought from like the British Heart Foundation charity shop, but we got an armchair as part of this set, which is incredibly comfortable. And every time Emma comes around to my house, it is instantly occupied.
It's my armchair.
But it's very good for curling up on to read, and we've got a lamp right behind it in ideal lighting position.
I like to read outside if the weather's nice. I'll go and sit in the garden. Like, I read Emperor's Soul outside.
I think I do, and I never actually do.
Yeah, I believe in the dream, but then I go outside and it's either too bright or too cold, and I go back inside.
Well, I'm also a bit of a weirdo. It's like, if I really want to read, but I'm having a trouble, like, making my brain energy levels are, like, not quite right for me to be able to just focus on reading, I'll read aloud to myself. And it's easier to do that outside if I feel like no one's listening.
Fair.
Or I'll read to the cat. I read Beowulf to the cat. That's how I got through Beowulf. Because it really needs to be spoken. Like, it's Tolkien's translation, which I read. You want to speak it aloud. So I read it to the cat.
Yes. Right. Do we want to... I had a couple of questions for Ro, but we're running out of time. So I guess I'll go with my favourite one, which is you've only spoken for a couple of book episodes this season. What was it about those books specifically that made you want to, like, speak out to the nation?
Nations! We're an international podcast now.
I think
to the globe! The world!
I think it was mostly... I mean, I wasn't the only one suggesting The Hobbit. But it was such a book that I remembered from primary school. Like always, as early as I can remember reading. I can remember reading The Hobbit and memorizing the riddles and the songs, and it just felt like if I was going to talk on any episode, it would be that one. And then that was pretty fun, and I'd very much been the one pushing for Earthsea, so I was like, I can't not talk about it. But like the other side of this is, apart from the absolute chaos of like having to read all the books, which would have stressed me out, the reason that I don't talk on more, and that I definitely didn't talk towards the beginning, was I was incredibly nervous about the idea of editing myself, because I used to really hate listening to my own voice. And I was really worried that if I had to listen to my own voice, the editing would never get done, because I would just be sitting there in a sense of like, I can't do this. And I guess I want to mention this because this might be a thing that puts people off podcasting. And in my case, I guess because I am trans and because my voice has changed due to hormone therapy over the last few years, that's actually helped a lot. And then getting to listen to it and be like, actually, I like it now. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
But I think in general, with anyone, it's a kind of thing where you're probably going to hate it for the first like sort of 20 minutes, but then eventually you just get used to it.
See, that's kind of interesting, because I had a same but different experience in that I was expecting to find listening to myself really uncomfortable. And it was actually different enough from how I hear myself when I speak that I got enough disconnect from it to be like, oh, hey, this sounds like a sort of person I could be friends with, you know? It was like,
yeah,
good.
But who's that person with the good opinions saying all the things I would have said?
Yeah. I had it's a weird therapy breakthrough of like, oh, I actually quite like the things that I say to the people that I like. This is, the conversations that I have with people, like, I don't sound like as much of an idiot as I thought I did. This is actually very validating, which...
Yeah, I definitely sound more eloquent than I thought I'd do.
Oh, that's totally me just editing out every time you guys ever say or ah.
Don't ruin this for me.
I think there's so much credit to like Rose's editing skills. Just
yes.
I do nothing.
Well, here's the thing. I did another podcast. I guested on another podcast, and obviously completely different. Like they had different recording audio setups and everything. But like I know that I think they probably edited me a little more heavily than what I think we tend to do, because I really noticed that I thought I was like really eloquent on that podcast in a way that I think would be jarring on this one, because it is so conversational what we do here.
I tend to go for minimal editing. There's some times where people talk over each other that just for clarity I organise it, and there's a few ums and ahs and verbal tics that you guys have that I cut down a little bit, but it's just, I think it's not worth the time, and I think I also do like the conversational feel that comes from leaving a lot of that stuff in.
And that's something that like other people that like know us have said to me that listen to the podcast. They've been like, I like putting you guys on, and then it's just like you're in the room having a conversation with me, and that's I really like that vibe about it. So like
that is the vibe we are totally going for.
Yeah, which exactly, that was like why we did it really, was because we wanted to spend more time talking to each other, and also like
about books.
This is also for our friends as much as anything else. Yeah.
And then recording it and put it on the internet and letting other people download it.
Well, also for ourselves, it's like, in 10 years, we'll have all these recordings. I mean, maybe we'll still be going, who knows? But, like, we'll have this to listen to and be like, oh, remember when we did this?
We're going to have a podcast in Empire in 10 years, Eli. We're going to have
of course, yeah.
It's all going off.
Yes, we'll obviously have the D&D spin-off that, is bigger than the Adventure Zone.
Exactly.
There's like channel things on Apple Podcasts, so we have multiple different ones, and I can just have an entire podcast just from me venting about, like, Season 8 of Wheel of Time.
We can hire a social media manager so that Lottie can have somebody to order around.
Yeah, we'll publish all those novels we wrote for NaNoWriMo, and then we'll have to podcast about those.
NaNoWriMo looms on the horizon.
I keep getting threatening emails from them.
Oh god, I decided to do sci-fi this year, and now I have to do world building. I don't want to do world building, but it's too late now. I've stuck to the idea, and now I have to do space things.
I'm trying to work out something that's like a good goal to have, but it's not. I'm not doing the 50,000 this year.
I could do nano of book reviews. I could do 50,000 words of book reviews, probably.
That would be quite fun.
Because that's not creative in the same way. Right?
But how many books have you had to have read? Like the time commitment.
But I could do like reviews of all the stuff we've done. Like I mean, there's a bunch of reviews of books that I would like to do that we aren't going to do on the podcast because they're not like things that you guys want to read. But I love like a bunch of horror stuff or whatever that I have read already. So I don't know.
Yeah,
something to think about.
My brain just does not have like a value for like the average number of words per book review, and that's like the factor that I'm trying to work out.
I would put it at about 2,000 for a long one, but that's still 25 reviews.
I mean, I can't write. This is why I became the honorary social media manager.
Honorary? You actual social media manager?
Yes.
I mean, it's
Like no one else in this podcast deserves that title. Like,
it's because of lockdown and the Sleepy English Village vibes. Okay. I guess on which note, like for our next series, we've picked the first 3 books we're going to read, which I think Eli mentioned a bit earlier in the episode. Yeah, we're going to read Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. We're going to read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte.
yes, which I'm so psyched for. Like, Lottie has been live blogging this to me, her responses. You're in for a treat, guys. It's going to be so good.
So many thoughts about Wuthering Heights. Not like to rant about the book, but just mainly because I feel I have never read it before, and like the pop culture I feel is just completely just absolutely taken.
Pop culture has lied to you. Yeah,
it's lied. And then for our Christmas episode, we're going to be reading The Hogfather by Terry Pratchett, which I'm very, very excited about to read more Discworld.
Having said that the 3rd episode of season 2 is going to be a Christmas episode, that gives you basically the rough timeline where it's probably going to start airing in December.
That's what we're hoping for.
Pretty much.
It just gives us some time really to sort of pre-record a load of episodes, just get some in the bank, get some edited, ready to go, and then when they come out, just make sure you follow us on your podcast platform so you never miss the episode, or email us, DM us, or follow us on Tumblr.
Keep contacting us. We love it.
Yeah, please keep contacting us, and then it validates us, and then we talk about it on our little group chat, and we're like, oh my god, someone gave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, I think they're the main 3 that have review functionality, because obviously Spotify doesn't, but Spotify does allow you to share to Instagram stories, and then you can tag us in it, and then we'll share that to our stories, and then we'll scream about it on our chat.
And I will continue to not understand how Instagram works.
I mean,
but
it's
I'll
a mystery.
be very excited when Lottie tells me that things are happening.
I don't like that you can't see posts unless you have an account. Like, excuse me.
That
I
annoys
just want to
me,
see
I've got to
the
say.
dog that somebody shared the photo of.
It's just because it's owned by Facebook. We're not going to be on Facebook. I can deal with Instagram, but Facebook is a whole other beast, guys. Just putting that out there. Although, we are on Goodreads. So if any of you guys out there in listener land would be interested in joining our Goodreads community group, please tell us so we can all chat together on Goodreads.
But yeah, we will see you all in season 2. And it's been a blast recording this season so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you so much to you all for supporting us and messaging us and all these lovely things. And yeah, we can't wait for you guys to see what we get up to in our next series.
See you then.
Bye.